Hello everyone, it's Kevin and welcome to The Cosmic Perspective. On today's episode, I speak with my friend Max. We talk about how we met playing D&D. We talk about a little bit of his life philosophy and some of the things that he's been reading. So his concept of no 0 days, some books that he's read, his philosophy on Stoicism. We also talk about our mutual love of the School of Life and how that has informed us about how our childhood memories kind of impact really a lot of our future behavior. And then we also talk about the kind of just the theory of what if we could live forever. And I think that one is, probably my favorite part of this conversation because I love to nerd out over futurist type stuff. So all in all, it's a really interesting episode, and it definitely has multiple parts to it. So definitely check it out. Without further ado, here is the podcast. Thanks, Max. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So I want to talk about how we met, and specifically with D&D. So Dungeons and Dragons, yes, super nerdy. But I want to talk about our first, not necessarily the first time that we played together, but just kind of in general, what a game with us looks like. So for those that don't know, how would it play out?
It's like just a bunch of geeks just hanging out being geeky. It's the one place where when you first start, you feel at home with trying to loosen up. Mm-hmm. That's the one place that you find other people that when you're doing a voice or you're doing a bit, or if you're playing a bit for too long, that people actually can tolerate it. Or they'll tell you that it's like, nah, stop it. It's going too long.
Kill that character.
You kind of ride that. They'll try to kill it off. So, I, Craft Punk, with Marcus over there, you get to be
Marcus.
You get to be a separate version of yourself in a sense, and you get to just geek down. And then, a lot of the times it gets pretty weird. The most recently we were playing and it came to my character just started to spat about roommate dispute stuff. And it was just wait, this is and I'm talking to the DM, the dungeon master, the guy who has to hone in on characters and stuff. I'm like, this is coming too close to home on this one. I don't know if the character should be to the character or to me, mm-hmm. in a sense. So it's do I pick the other side of the argument? And so you can kind of reflect it back over to your life. So it's a lot of fun in that regards. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like a little projection in that character. Right?
Yeah. And so a lot of the times that projection can go on to stuff of people you've never been before. So a lot of the times you get a lot of people coming in and they'll I know one of the guys that plays, he kind of likes to try to be, feels a little bit of an actor type, and mm-hmm. usually get that because there's a lot of people that go, I don't like the roles that people have given me, so I want to try to do a different role. What does mm-hmm. that sound like? And so if you haven't been like that as a kid, you start to bring that out in D&D, and it's a lot of fun.
It is. Yeah. What's your favorite part about D&D? Role play, battles?
I always get in my head about the role play. So the amount of geeking out that I just talked about, you still feel a little bit of judgment with it, but it's mm-hmm. only a personal thing. I think the most fun that I ever had, it was the weirdest thing because me and two other guys, nobody really showed up for the one day, so we decided to do a side quest thing. We ended up liberating a town with two support characters and a not really that damagey of a character. And that's what we tell people, that we're the heroes of that town, it's and it felt really weird that I was super excited to be able to tell people hey, we oh my God, this crazy thing happened at a board game in a basement of a bar. We all envisioned it. And you know what I mean? Where it's oh wow, it's almost like explaining a dream that happened in real life.
A collective dream.
Yeah, it's really a collective dream. It's everybody told a story together, and that
mm-hmm.
was exactly what it was. It was super weird trying to tell people that. I got super excited into it.
It definitely has an interesting energy to the game. There's something about when you're going into some big castle or something, you're about to take on the boss. It's very video game in that sense. But then there's always the element of surprise and randomness because of the roles and what people choose to do with their actions.
Yeah, I heard a comment on Reddit
creative.
that somebody was saying that it's less like they had less fun of it when they thought of it, or when they thought of it as a video game, they had less fun with it. But when they thought of it as a story, they had a lot more fun with it.
Yeah.
So it's not only like that same town, that same place that we liberated that town. The best part of the story was that we had the perfect plan to try to kill off the leader of the town, to try to poison him. And we're all invisible trying to poison this leader. And the DM kept rolling super high. Nat 3, as it's called in the game, Nat 20s. So like full rolls that like you can't fight. He rolled so that the guy could not be poisoned. And so we kept trying to figure out a way to kill this guy as we're still invisible. And so the tensions were getting high and we all made it up. So it's like, it was a really weird self-made being a kid again, trying to tell like a whole story without having to whip a stick at your brother and then not tell him to not quit crying because mom's going to find out kind of stuff. Sorry, Jack.
It tells you a lot about the brain, though, right? That the fact that you can even get that invested in something that's completely just like you're making it up as you go.
Yeah, that your like heart starts to race and stuff. You start to feel physical changes to the stuff that you're thinking about. So, but back to the point with the question was that where were we with that?
Like
one?
your favorite thing about it, role playing.
Oh, but I was talking about the point of like you show up to a castle or something like that.
Oh,
like
yeah,
everyone,
the boss battle. Yeah,
with like a boss battle and stuff. Like I've had times we don't actually have the correct figurines, but at the same time you're still looking at that figurine going like that is that thing.
Shit.
That
That's
is
the
that
boss.
thing. That's a golem. That is a stone golem, and I need to cast shatter on it, or else like I'm going to get fucking owned right now.
Right.
So yeah.
I was sacrificed to a fire god.
Yeah, I think I remember that. I don't think I was at your table for that one, but I remember that.
It was not good, man.
But it's okay. They brought you back.
It was literally, I know. It was literally in like the first 5 minutes of that particular like episode.
Mm-hmm.
And I had nothing to do with the reasons why we were in the location because I missed like the week before or something like that. So I came in there and then was immediately fucking taken out by two fireballs or something.
We threw a newbie, a guy, he called himself Apache because he wanted to be an Apache helicopter the whole time, which is like perfect. But he played all the same stats roles as like an actual fantasy like cast character. And that's another fun thing we can talk about too. But so we threw him into a mushroom plant thing as a sacrifice so we can get another guy who was actually playing. Like he was gone that week and a guy showed back up, so we're like, okay, we'll just change him out. We'll just change you guys out right now and let's hope he's not mad at us. So I think the DM wrote him back to like get him back out, but we were all felt pretty guilty about it.
Yeah, because it's like first episode
we just
immediately slaughtered.
He still shows up week to week, but we like totally threw him into a plant.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, how are we all buds?
Yeah, no, it definitely can get pretty interesting, and I think the decisions that certain people make in the game can make it way more fun.
Oh,
like
yeah.
when people choose this crazy, like, wait, what if we do this sneak angle to try to get in? And like you try to do the creative solution, and then when it goes wrong, it almost ends up being more fun going wrong.
No, that's exactly the thing with the storytelling stuff. That's called table talk in the game. I don't know if you're aware of that. It's when you start to think like a gamer and you stop thinking like an actual like what the character would do. So like for example, one time I can prove your point because one time we were in a paladin temple and everyone was talking, but we had too many people at the table, and so the DM was trying his best to like make sure everyone's focused, but I was completely losing focus and I was completely losing track of the story and where we were. So I didn't know, we're surrounded by paladins and I didn't know if they were enemies or like against. We had a guy that was taking over for like the team and was trying to convert the paladins to our side. And then I didn't know if they were a side or not, so I threw one of them into the like nearby pond or like the nearby fountain, because my character has that sort of power to be able to conductive baton move people around. So I just did it, and so it launched everybody into an attack. And they were just like, "You idiot!" They were our buds, and I was like, "Oh shit!"
You should have communicated.
I, as a human person, should have been listening. The character, I guess, technically, because he's not smart, could have been not listening either.
Yeah.
So I was like, then we had to now fight off this paladins and like a witch warlock thing. So unnecessarily harder on us, all of us. So then I was like, okay, shit. I should probably be better to the team. So then I charisma charmed all of them with Alex Jones propaganda Well,
Listen, we got the goddamn globalists. They're trying to attack us, and
exactly that.
they're pedophiles.
I casted light on my rapier and was saying, just saying that because these paladins were taken over by like an evil spirit and they didn't know, so I had to try to like counter that. So of course, Alex Jones,
They have the goddamn demons in them.
that would do it. Yeah, no, exactly. That's what got them. So I got like 3 or 4 paladins. So we weren't fighting on all sides. We only fought on like a few. So yeah, it made you kind of go, oh shit. So like the one guy was cursing at me the whole time, but at the end of it, he was like, okay, like that actually made it a lot more fun. Like, it's like, yeah, that kind of sucks, but if you didn't, it would have just been like, okay, so now we just solved this problem, and now we just solved this problem. Yeah. It almost makes me feel like a part of the human psyche is to, with games at least, is to make small problems that are like outside of reality that you have to solve. And that's what makes it therapeutic.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Yeah, it makes you use the critical thinking part of your brain, as well as the imaginative, creative part of your brain, and you're kind of like combining the two to solve a problem, but also come up with a cool scenario.
Well, yeah. So like for me, when I always think of that, where it's like, why you guys are just solving problems? That's exactly what you did from your 9-to-5 job that you had just prior to this. This seems boring, and it's like, no, this is fun because it's no longer in your reality.
Yeah, it's a totally different world that you get to live in for just a couple hours or so. Yeah, I agree, man. So speaking of spending time and creativity and like spending several hours, I want to talk a little bit about your daily practice of drawing and posting it on Instagram.
Yeah. So I guess to the people who don't know, so I draw my project that I'm doing now is to make sure to draw just at least a half hour every day, to make it so that regardless of how I'm feeling, regardless of how drunk I am, regardless of whatever the condition of my state is, that you got to keep drawing. It's like a man-made discipline. And you got to make it. I started it 2 days before New Year's Eve because there was no point to starting it. Like I had the idea prior to it, and I thought to myself, well, if I'm waiting for it to happen, then I'm just doing the same thing over again. I might as well just start doing it. And then to also make it so that you keep the time small, so that it's bite-sized almost, so that you get started with it, and then every once in a while you indulge. So you take like, instead of a half hour, it's 2 hours or so. And then it makes it so that on the harder days where you're like, I'm back home at 1:00, and I just got done working like a 12-hour shift. God, fine, I'll put in 15 minutes into this one. So, but you got to do it every day. So then your mind is always set on when it wakes up in the morning, it's got a certain set amount of tasks that it has to do. And so your day is never not filled. Like, there's never, like, for me, I realized when looking back on this that, like, you look at the, like, I kind of think of this like, hey, man, what do you do in your free time? And I kind of think, like, I don't have free time, but I divvied up that free time. So now it's designated free time. So I, of course, have free time, but... like,
not in the traditional sense.
Not in the traditional sense, no.
Yeah.
So it's like the stuff that I want to do is now like boringly set out.
But it's not boring though.
No, it's not boring. So like, that's why I've been able to see, at least for a little bit, if it's not progress, it's definitely change. So I've seen from like going from just black and whites to sepia to, because just a marker change. And then after that, trying to add color to it and seeing how that looks, or seeing how some people like, just the kind of people that stick around, that sort of stuff. Like before I didn't do it. I didn't want to post it to Instagram. I took like a year off. I did it for a year and then started posting it to Instagram, because then I didn't want it to be tied to views and likes and stuff. I didn't want that value to it. It was supposed to be internal, always internal. And so when I started posting it to Instagram though, I got a guy I was talking with. I think his name is like, Shitty Bear Draw Stuff or whatever. Like, and so he's saying, he's like, I don't know how to draw. I'm going to try to draw. I'm also like a 1,300 pound bear on his Instagram feed. And so I messaged him, and I found him looking through all the other hashtags that I posted. And I saw that his first post was his first drawing. And I was like, crap, I got in on the ground floor for this guy. So I messaged him and I was like, yo, dude, this, like, keep going. I didn't say it was great. I didn't say it was bad. I didn't say you suck. I didn't say you're amazing. All I said was keep going, because that's what I do. That's all you have to do for it. So I think I got away from the point there on that one. I tend to talk in tangents.
That's all right, dude.
But
no, I think it is interesting though to see to see like the growth of something like that, and to be vulnerable enough to put it out there.
Yeah.
Because that's a risk, you know. People are gonna say, "You suck, dude. This is the worst drawing I've ever seen. Fuck you, man."
But for the most part, those always come in your head. Those are always the voices in your head that say that you're not good enough yet, and those are never gonna go away. It's really weird how they won't go, because your thought and your mindset will have it so that it's always this thing that you can't ever reach to. What you can find in it is how it makes you feel afterwards. So, like what about it really affected your psyche? That's what I try to look forward to, not the exact drawing in and of itself, because that part's never gonna get me. Like yesterday, I drew just a tiny sunflower seed. I just was like, okay, but it's not gonna be the damn best sunflower seed in the world. It's just, you know, it's just
I'm getting my reps in.
It's getting my reps in. You
Yeah.
know, it was the same thing that I did when I started going to the gym. Like, you know, it's just the first habit that you have to break is to not going to the gym.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, so you go, these days it's now 6 days a week I go, and all it takes is just an hour, and you'll see a lot of improvement.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. I mean, dude, even half an hour is still like
Even
a
there,
decent amount of
so
time.
long as you are showing up, that
Yeah.
is pretty much half the battle.
It really is.
Yeah, it's what made studying a lot easier in college. Like, I would just always show up to lecture, and then it would be a guaranteed C for the most part. And then after that, it was just, okay, what don't I know? And then you'd work a little bit harder on that sort of stuff. But if you just show daily attendance and don't let your ego get in the way of like what exactly attendance should be, like you go, oh man, yeah, I didn't do it that day, but like you start to second guess yourself. You start to go like, oh, I didn't draw today, but I did do some stuff, Photoshop retouching on photos at work today. So that's like probably about the same. It's like, no, you didn't. You exactly didn't do that.
Yeah.
So you can't go giving yourself an excuse for that sort of behavior. It's making sure that you have like a set objective as to where you want to be and what set markers you need to do daily to get there.
And where did you find this influence? Was it from a book or?
From the No Zero Day sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think it was a Reddit post. There was a Reddit post. This guy just goes on, like, it was a best of that. Then they attached it to, what do they attach it to? It was like a best of post to a guy that was talking about, he's like, man, I feel like I'm not doing that great at school, at university. This sucks. And so what the guy said is like, look, dude, I know this sucks. Like, he gave this huge, like, long 5-page essay as to how you can make yourself better. And his theory was, like, he laid it out in 3 rules, was like no 0 days. And if you do have a 0 day, forgive yourself. And the second one was,
For those who don't know, explain what a 0 day is.
Oh, 0 day is when you don't take, there isn't a day in your life that you don't do it. If you have, like, if you're trying to be a writer and you want to try to write the best book in the world and you just can't seem to get it before midnight the next day, you write a word down. 1 is not 0. Just 1 word down. That's all you need. 1 sentence. I mean, it'll take forever, but the whole point is that if you keep doing 1 word at around 365 days, you'll have 365 words. Yeah, you can make a really tiny short story out of that. But eventually at around maybe the 20th day of you putting down 1 word per page, you'll probably get to a sentence, or you'll probably get to like a paragraph at that point. So you'll start to feel like you start the groundwork in order to get yourself moving. But you have to have no days in which you didn't do it. So no 0 days. I think Seinfeld is quoted to say it's like, don't break the chain. So he would have it all on a huge calendar on the wall and mark it in X if he did it that day or not. And he would try to go the best he possibly could, longest he possibly could, without breaking the chain for it. And for comedy, when writing comedy, writing jokes. So he had like a bare minimum that he'd have to do, and he'd have to make sure that he just didn't break the chain for it. That sort of thing. So even if he had a day that was like, oh my God, I wrote like 500,000 jokes on this day, the next day he would have to go back and do 10 more, like, you know?
Yeah.
So that's the even more important part of it, where you don't actually, any sort of parts that you go over, you make sure that you don't like let that coast you. You keep going back to that drawing board. So he was saying that you'd have no 0 days. That the second part is that you now have 2 best friends. It's your future self and your past self. And I think the third best friend is your present self. So your present self is supposed to do things for your future self, and your present self is supposed to forgive your past self. So you're constantly going through this whole growth cycle of making sure that you are helping the future you, and that you are therefore now forgiving the past you for not understanding what the future you might have actually had to go through. It's like a constant trade-off, and then it puts you at the center of, like, it treats you as a friend, which is probably the first person that you need to be friends with before you can be friends with anybody else.
Exactly. If you don't love yourself, no one can love you.
Not even that, it's not even like a love. It's just sort of an acceptance.
Yeah.
Of it. If you don't accept what like a good appreciation value for yourself, you can't grow on that value, and you can't depreciate that value. Like, it would be like saying, if you're trying to put on new additions to your house and there's faulty foundation stuff, there's construction issues that are happening with this house, and you need to, like,
you need to
assess
fix
that first before
Yeah.
you start putting this addition on, which could then collapse the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like making an accurate representation of yourself. And the third thing he was talking about was like fitness and books. It's to make sure that you keep nurturing your body, to make sure it doesn't stay stagnant. So that's not like going in and PRing every day at the gym. It's like making sure you go on the bike and go down Lakeshore, or like just being outside or moving a bit per day. Don't stay stagnant. And then read. Make sure that you have some other person's literature going on, buzzing through your brain.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, books are like the best way to get somebody's brain.
Yeah.
Like to understand where they come from, how they think about things. Just reading it tells you a lot about that person.
Mm-hmm.
I know you have a book list, so tell some books that you have read and enjoyed, and then tell some that are on your list currently.
Oh, okay.
We can start with the read and enjoyed first.
Read and enjoy. I went back through, there was some, like I read Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. I would say I enjoyed the third half, or the third part, the third half of the sixth, eighth, the last third of it is pretty much about, like, he tries to build it. His whole thing is he's building into a hierarchy, and you get to the end and you're at the top.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where all the points start to come together.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that one a bit, but for the most part, it's really dry because it's
Mm-hmm.
written, it's pretty old. So it's written in sort of like a slow pacing sort of thing.
Gotcha.
I mean, what else did I read back? I went back and read through all of the books as a kid that I had during silent sustained reading and couldn't like stand. So like read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Enjoyed that one. It's very much so like the movie. Fahrenheit 451 was on there. But in terms of like other stuff that like the non-classics, had Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday and his other book Perennial Seller on there. Which those are both very much geared towards creatives and very much toward the accurate representation of who you are. Granted, that goes with my current reading list, which is or current recent. Man, that's redundant. So my
current recent
upcoming roundabout around the area
nearby,
realist, like more of the Stoic philosophy of it. So it's like around this. So it's been like there was the Meditations by Marcus Aurelius was recently read. The Letters of a Stoic by Seneca, which is like a collection of all of his letters that he wrote to his buddy Lucilius, which are kind of open-ended because he wanted them to last throughout time. Yeah, so it's been mostly a lot of self-help stuff, and then a lot of just stuff that I kind of been putzing around with. I mean, that and like Song of Ice and Fire. That was a long time ago. I was reading that one. Yeah, and Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit that I had just sitting on the desk for like ever, never read them. So I finally got through and I started reading them.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What draws you to self-help books? Because that's something that I tend to read a lot too.
Yeah. What draws me to self-help? It might be the fact of I feel like I can repair me in a sense.
Yeah.
Which is a plus and a negative because a lot of times it makes you avoid actual professional help. And the other half of the time the other good side of it is that you are making sure that you keep an accurate account of who you are.
Yeah, you keep reassessing.
Yeah, you keep reassessing and that you can improve. Like the professional help part of it is good because they'll start asking very important questions and getting down to very important parts of your life that it would have scarred you in places or places that you could fix. But you are the one that has to do the repairs. Like, it's not like somebody else comes in and says, okay, well, now that memory is not that memory. Now it's a different memory. Have fun. Like, you have to go and talk to yourself and say, like, this is how this obviously wasn't the way it went through in that person's head.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have to forgive you. So, yeah, because usually self-help books give, like, kind of a sort of crappy name to it, because it's like, oh, that's just paltry sort of, like, literature. That's not like a real meaty.
But there are some that are so like effective and thorough.
Oh,
and
yeah.
They give you like legitimate strategies that you have maybe thought about the general ideas, but never really had like that practice before, where it's like, oh man, like I get it now. If I did this, that, and the other thing, this actually would improve my overall skills
That's
or help
true.
me deal with this.
That's true.
Specifics.
A lot of the times, though, it can deal with a lot of fads. That's why I feel like it's the bad name. Like, my sister was reading other self-help books, which is a lot of the ones that she was reading were ones that are like, stay positive.
Yeah.
Stay positive, keep going, you're going to be great kind of thing, where it's like, if you really like think about it, that's just lying to yourself. And some of it, like, oh man, stay positive. I think the whole point of it is to stay accurately representing whatever it's going to be. Like, you got to have an accurate assessment of it. So like, the part of Stoicism is to not put any weight or any stock into anything that could be dealt with on fortune. So any type of girls that you're interested in, job opportunities, traffic situations, literally waking up in the morning, or like you're like if the coffee's going to work, the coffee machine's going to work today, like anything that could be put into the stock of fortune is considered like that could fail on you.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
as soon as you can stop putting weight on it, you actually start to feel more content, because you realize that you go further and further back until it's just you. And
Yeah.
now you figured out, you found where you exactly are, and that part of you is indivisible and indestructible. Even when the body, I think it's actually Epicurus says, that even when the body is destroyed, like the soul, there was nothing that could have changed the soul in that matter. You could still fight for what you believe in, and then like that part of you won't ever go away.
Yeah.
Even when the
It lives on in other people.
Yeah, it's because it's all ideas
Mm-hmm.
at that point.
Yep. It becomes then people's representation of what you put out.
Yeah.
Right.
And
And
then
then that lives on in their
then
memories.
you change. Yeah.
Yeah. Then, you literally evolve in a way.
Yeah.
After you die, it's like you kind of evolve into this amorphous thing.
Yeah, like what happened to Tesla kind of a stuff.
Yeah.
I think we're probably referencing the same YouTube video or something.
I don't know. I wasn't thinking about a YouTube video, but
there's a YouTube video. There's a guy, I think he calls it like It's not Big Ideas. It's not that channel. It's
I
like
like that
PBS.
channel, though.
It's a PBS channel. It's not. It's not the one that's like, it's okay to be smart. It's the other one that they do about, like, he asks good philosophical questions about like who's the real Tesla? Is it the Tesla that people think about? Is it the Tesla that people like get tattooed on their bodies, or is it the
to do with the beard?
Tesla? Yeah, he was the one that fought Edison.
I know Tesla. I'm saying the YouTube channel.
Yeah, YouTube channel. It's got records all on the back wall and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like red beard.
I haven't seen it in a while.
Red and like kind of, yeah, he used to have some like really good ideas, and then he was like, is Minecraft really real? And you're like, what are you doing, my friend?
Actually, that reminds me of, and I think this is actually kind of related to what we were just talking about, is that we have a mutual love of School of Life, which I've actually talked about on this podcast a couple times now. Talk about how that influenced you, because I know that shit, like some of those videos really changed my perspective on some things.
Oh yeah, it definitely made me appreciate other people more. I think the term emotional intelligence is a really good term to keep around with you. Excuse me. So yeah, the emotional intelligence is one of those things where, like, I didn't know to not develop it before. There was one of those things where it's like everyone should conform to what I think. My ideas are the right ones. But
I'm right, goddammit.
Yeah, pretty much in that sense. Where
Believe
it's like,
me.
I'm the one that's got it right. Like no one else has it. Like no one else has gone through my life like I have. Everybody else should bow down to what I think. Whereas like that's not persuasive at all.
It isn't
At all.
It makes
so it's
people
like,
push back.
Yeah. It gives you that more than anything else. So they kind of try to teach you. Well, I guess even today's video was one of like changing the wedding ceremony. So the one that they wanted to talk about was like changing
How to get married.
Really, like literally, that's exactly what it was. It was just, and I'd say that
I saw it. I haven't watched it, but I saw that in my feed.
It felt really weird. That one felt weird, where it's like, hey, everyone, like their whole thing that they wanted to tell people was like, hey, we are broken. Everyone is broken. And when you're talking to that person that you say is your loved one, you're really talking to a child. That you're not talking to like their adult self right now. Everything that's highly reactive in them is their childlike self.
Yep.
So like you and I are sitting here because we were both once ambitious 6-year-olds. Like for me, was drawing up in one of my like grandma and grandpa's house, second floor, trying to get the Mage Knight guys to be exactly right. And I remember feeling really, really crappy about not getting the eyes right. And I thought I was never going to be able to draw again because I can't get these eyes right. And there was like, I can't believe how wrong I had it.
Yeah.
You know, where it's like I had no idea how to put it.
As a child, you're not equipped.
You're not.
Yeah, you don't have the brain, like the fully developed brain to even think about things correctly.
Yeah, you have to put it together yourself. Like you're just a kid trying to build your own structure to your own head and dealing with adults who are also at their heart children. So it's like you're dealing it's like you're trying to make an actual like sizable structure out of like Elmer's glue and popsicle sticks. Like you're not going to be able to do it.
No, you're not.
So it takes a lot of forgiveness. So that's exactly what's been going on. Like from watching School of Life, I've gotten through a lot more forgiving of complete strangers, like in high traffic situations, cycling and stuff, or even of like trying to find other people, like-minded people, or why would somebody try to like hurt you like that?
Yeah.
Roommate situations, it's helped me through that. Relationship situations, if I had any. Ladies,
I'm single.
I'm single and ready to beg.
Ready to beg. Don't advertise it like that, man. You won't find any success with that attitude.
Oh, come on. I beg really nice. I'm a really good beggar, okay? I thought he was an okay guy, but then I heard him beg.
Yeah, and then that just convinced me.
That
I just thought he was awesome.
really got me going.
I got super
the
wild.
way that man can beg. Woo! Woo! I do believe someone opened a window because I'm hot for that.
Oh, man. Yeah, I do think that it's interesting to see all the different ways that things that happen to you as a child really can affect how you then react to situations that are not even like the same situation, but affect you in a similar way. And so it then triggers a certain reaction that anything in that realm will then get that reaction.
Yeah. And then you just run right back to it. You're back to being your childlike self. So like a good example was I was fighting with a friend of mine. And then another friend of mine was stuck in the middle. He's like friends with both of us, and he just sort of went silent. So like I had like, it was just a couple of statements of like, hey, this is exactly what he's doing. And the guy was like, quit your bitching. And I was like, okay, like I can't really fight this one or whatever. So the third party friend viewed both of that and was stuck silent. He couldn't do anything, and the guy left, and I was stuck there with him. And so I came over and I talked to the third party friend afterwards, and I said, I think I realized something, that it was like, it kind of felt like, well, I told him, it was like, it felt like when me and the other guy were fighting that you didn't take either of our sides. And he was like, yeah, that's true. And I'm like, I totally understand that, because I don't think I would take either side either, but I would appreciate it if you would have taken your own side and said, hey, you're both my friends, quit fighting.
Yeah.
Max, you need to stop being so pushy, and like my other friend, you need to start understanding what other people are thinking, because we all are trying to cohabitate together. And he was like, yeah, I don't know, I just froze. And I said, let me go on a limb here. And I remembered his parents had a really messy divorce. And so when he was 7, his mom and dad would be arguing all the time. And when his parents would argue,
he would go silent.
He would go silent. He didn't know which side to pick. He didn't know why they were arguing. He wanted to try to help. He couldn't help. And so he just went silent. And that's what he did. And so I said, did you go back to that? And he was like, yes, exactly. And I was like, okay, I get that. I understand that.
And that's the imprint that childhood has. And no one gets out of a childhood unscathed.
Yeah.
You could have the nicest parents ever, and you're still going to have some shit that traumatized you.
Oh, yeah.
That then fucks you up.
I believe... What is it? Is it Donald Winnicott, the childhood psychologist and regular psychologist, used to say that like you can only ever really be a good parent, like good enough parent. That's all it is. Like you can't just be the best parent. You only ever be good enough. Yeah. And when you can kind of sit on that, like your kid, even if you pamper your kid and you make sure that they live in a soft, cushy life, you've taken that away from them actually learning how to actually do something. They've become completely limited as to what they can do later. So you kind of like let them go, and then they can't fly, or if you just kind of let them go and you don't really care about them, they're just like, oh, well,
They
my
will
parents
either
never loved
sink
me.
or swim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll just think it's like, my parents never really loved me.
Yeah.
There's no point of like, no one, they'll have a difficulty figuring out what love is. It's just all the development of the human psyche.
Yep.
You have to go through.
It's crucial years where you're unequipped and you're going to run into circumstances because the universe and the world is that random. That there's going to be something that's thrown at you that you really just don't know what to do with.
Yeah. But as Marcus Aurelius says, that every man by nature, like any problem that you face in nature, God, I'm gonna get this quote wrong, is that it's no problem in nature. Like they give you the materials in which you can bear it. There's no problem that's outside of nature that you can't bear, in a sense.
Except a bear, literally.
Well, then you just get torn to shreds.
Then you get torn to shreds.
You just get torn to shreds.
Then
That's
you're
how
just
that goes.
slaughtered.
Like that quote from Marcus Aurelius. It gets torn to shreds.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I really do think that there's a lot that people could learn from analyzing their own childhood and really thinking about it deeply. And then on top of it, School of Life literally giving you a psychologist's perspective on somebody who studies this shit and observes human behavior and then puts it in a way that you can like easily understand it. And plus the animations are cute, like
and you can always buy something at the end of it.
Engaged. Oh yeah.
They always sell it. I don't like that part of it where they're like,
mean,
well, yeah, this wedding one, there's like, oh man, isn't like, we're going to change up the wedding. But then if you want, come buy our book. And you're like, okay, I understand that you're trying to like.
They have to.
You
got to make the money.
Yeah.
Like Ryan Holiday said, you got to sell out a little bit.
Or like Little Dicky said, got to make that money. Got to save that money.
Save that money. Yeah.
That sort of thing.
You did get me into the Perennial Seller.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to talk a little bit about like what that book had on the impact for you.
For me, it made me completely retool what it was to be a creative, in a sense that you couldn't just be the ideas guy. You had to actually have like, if you're just going to be the ideas guy, you're not going to actually make anything worth making. A lot of the people that come to Ryan Holiday with like ideas, he tries to get them to boil it down to one sentence that's like, you are making something to target something so that you can sell it. So it's like, at that point, if you can't really define what your target is or what specifically you're trying to make, then there's no point in you making it.
And that makes sense.
Excuse me. So, yeah. So for him, you can't just say that I'm going to make art and just paint stuff on a canvas because that's my self-expression. You're going to go like Van Gogh, and you're not going to be viewed as great until you're dead. And then at that point, there's kind of no point. But I mean, and granted, the entirety of Van Gogh's life was riddled with self-doubt. He hated what he did, and he hated like living. So you can go that route, or you could say, I have a specific purpose in mind to solve, and now I can make something to solve that problem. It definitely puts it into a perspective of purpose, which is really nice.
I think purpose is like one of the most necessary things for people to feel like their life matters.
Yeah.
Whether that purpose is found in religion or their career or their kids, doesn't matter what you find it in. It's like you just have to find that purpose, because otherwise, why do you get up every day?
Yeah, then that's just, you're going into existentialism, which is like at any point you could kill yourself. It doesn't matter. Go right now. You can go kill yourself. Both of us could do it right now on this podcast. Right now, we're going to kill ourselves, everybody. Don't do it. Right here, right now. There's no point to this. We're going to do it. Guaranteed. Any moment now. No, but at any moment that could happen. And so there's, at one point, you have your gun to your head and you go, well, why?
Yeah.
And you go, hold on.
What do
I
have
know
to live
why.
for?
I still have something to do.
Yeah.
And so then you go out and you do it. Regardless of how much status that you have in it, you feel like you have a place in the world, that you deserve to exist.
Exactly.
In a sense. And that's what Perennial Seller kind of like shows you, is that you can be a creative and like sell. Like that's kind of the point, is to make stuff to sell. And so if you're not making good stuff to sell, or if you're just wondering like, why isn't anybody buying my stuff? It's like, okay, you need to go back to your own marketing drawing board as to why you're making stuff in the first place.
Yeah, you really do. I mean, you have to you have to have that sense of like dedication and focus and realizing like, all right, I'm trying to achieve something. Because like you said, if you're just meandering and wandering like, oh, I'm going to do this and then I'm going to do that and then I'm going to do this, it's like, all right, well, that's not solid. You have to have something solid, because otherwise, how do you know that you saw it through?
Yeah.
If you don't have a general timeline to follow.
Yeah. So, like a good example would be, I had the idea that I was, my roommates were watching basketball, and I don't really watch sports much, but I understand the whole bit of it. But I asked them, I said, when they slam dunk, does it break the backboard anymore? And they're like, no, they changed that, so now it doesn't break out of ever. And I was like, well, why couldn't we make it do that? And they're like, well, it's not safe. And I was like, no, but you make it so that like projectors, so that it looks like the glass breaks. You put a shockometer on it so that it measures the strength of the rim getting hit, and then if it hits that point, it'll break the glass. It'll project it so it looks like the glass broke. So everyone in the audience will go, holy shit, that was an awesome ass slam dunk, and it looks like it was. It looks like it broke the glass. And then you can get it like looks like it repairs afterwards. And I was like, they're like, that's it's
like sound effects, that add that extra oomph.
Yeah.
In editing.
Granted, holy crap, that's a good sidebar to that one. But because you could just make the sound effect for it if you wanted to. But I was realizing, I was like, okay, I don't want to be one of those ideas guys. I was going to try to make it. And then I did some more ideasing on it, and then I realized that they do a lot of camera stuff behind the backboard, and it was like they would get in the way to have like a whole projector thing going up on it, to be just like, if it was a really cool ass slam dunk that came like somebody running in from all the way full court and just Michael Jordaning it from the fucking 3-point just from 3-point line, just jumping over and doing it. You want solid footage of that. You don't want it interrupted by broken glass animation.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was like, that's going to be hard to sell.
Yeah. And sometimes you run into that with ideas, right?
Yeah.
Where it's
you do. And then you got to know that, but you got to know that that's where the thought was. You couldn't just sit there and think, yeah, that's a good idea. And then just go, and just sit in that warmth of the fact that it was good. That's false warmth. That's that's not self-made, like actual putting your nose to the grindstone. That's you just going, like stroking yourself off. Like, that's great. I'm great at this. I'm just the ideas guy. Dude. Yeah. Like
fucking awesome.
So. Yeah.
No, I agree, man. I agree. Action is like, that's the key. Like you have to put your plan into action. You gotta take your ideas from your brain and put it into the fucking real world. Because without actually putting it out there, you're not gonna have any impact at all. And I feel like it's important to have an impact. I feel like we need to think more about what we're doing to society as a whole, but not even thinking like on the largest scale. More of like, all right, well, what am I doing in my local area, and how am I affecting the people around me? And then what effect does that have as it spreads? Because shit spreads so quickly. It's contagious.
Yeah. The other side note I would say to that, Seneca has a line that says that if you fear, those who fear death will not live a life worthy of living. That you have to like be completely immune to death in order to actually live a good life. We don't know.
We're already dead, man.
We're already dead.
We've already lived this life.
We're all dead. I'm sitting now, gonna picture this room, and I'm gonna be at my deathbed or in the street where I'll probably die too.
We're in the middle of our
or anywhere that I
flashback.
die. Last minute flashback, and remember this room because that could exactly happen.
You really never know.
And then I'll go, God, I was such a smart ass.
I was being so sarcastic.
Which is actually, I think, my end 10-year goal. I don't know if you put yourself in a 10-year goals personality-wise. Do you ever do that? Like, ever think 12, like for me, 10 years ago, so 15-year-old me, thinking about 25-year-old me, what that would be like? What 15-year-old you thought?
I have no idea.
I don't think 15-year-old me thought, but 25-year-old me is thinking what 35-year-old me is going to be like.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to think I'm arrogant.
Yeah.
And I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope I'm like blindly arrogant and also self-reflective enough to keep changing, to keep pruning all these arrogant branches that show up.
Yeah.
But my hope is to go like, that guy is such an idiot. And then 45-year-old me hits him over the head and goes, 35-year-old you wish you had youth.
Yeah.
Like, you're so glad. You're so glad that you have youth right now. Like 45-year-old me wishes that he could have that.
See, it's funny how there's that weird nature to, we get older and we get more mature and smarter and whatever, but then we're losing the physical part. And so imagine all of the years of wisdom combined with still a youthful body. And that's where, like, for me, the idea of being able to extend like life extension technology is like fucking fascinating. Like being able to reverse aging, reverse the telomeres, you know, all the things related to aging, free radical oxygen, etc.
Yeah.
We can do it. I think we can do it in our lifetime.
How long do you want them to live for? The people in general, that is.
I think it would be cool for people to live indefinitely, but have the option to off themselves.
So
whenever.
you've seen like CPG Gray's stuff, then?
Yes.
Oh, okay, cool. Because I feel like that. I feel like that's pure arrogance, is to say that you can live forever
And cheat death. I mean,
there's the other side.
Really
There's the Greek philosophy saying this, that one person wished for immortality, but he forgot to wish for youth. So as he kept getting older, he just kept wrinkling and wrinkling and wrinkling until he was a raisin.
Yeah.
But he was still just kept getting older and older.
Still immortal.
So, I mean, I think CPG Gray, that video went over to just saying like live to 150 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, though, it's kind of weird how he thinks he has. It's the weirdest part of me that goes that he has a point, but I want to refute it. Like, you know, where it's like you have a point, where it's like we haven't really thought of a post-death lifestyle, and that technically all of the thoughts that we've ever had have had to deal with the fact that we are going to die later.
Yep.
Or now.
Oh, good. We're still here.
Okay, good. Nothing.
No,
this
but really,
building's
like,
still sound.
So imagine this, right? You don't age beyond. I don't know what do you think the peak physical condition is? Like 25 or something? Like
24. I just passed it.
Yeah.
No,
well,
usually
I'm about to be 24.
Well, usually people are like their 30s. They wish they were in their 20s, and then I think you probably just ask people what age they want to be, and they'll probably end up around 20.
Well, I guess I mean physically,
mid-20s.
like your brain's developed, so at least 25.
Mid-20s,
but
probably.
then mid-20s, right? So let's say your body stays at the mid-20s range, but you keep getting older, but your body isn't breaking down at all. We found a way to keep the cells to stay healthy and young. They never, whatever. We get stem cells. I don't know how we fucking figure it out. If you could stay at that youthful state, how long would you want to live? You know, at what point would then you be like, all right, I've literally done everything I could want to do. I'm like done living at this point in a post-death scenario.
For me, when I think about it, I always put the answer to that's not a question for our species.
It's a question for human 2.0.
But for the next human, whenever that shows up, because I think at one point we're gonna have a different form of memory. Because I think, though, if we're living in our current mental state where you constantly forget stuff and you constantly remember stuff, and you can rewatch the same Harry Potter series like 10 years from later and have like a whole new view on it and watch it every 10 years, you could technically live Groundhog style every decade. And then you could probably actually keep coasting on that. But future us could have a longer memory recall rate.
But do you really want to remember everything exactly as it happened?
That's the real question.
I would say that most people wouldn't actually want that. It sounds cool until you realize every little thing that
Mirror
somebody's...
episodes, that's what we're doing?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it kind of is like... Yeah, it is like a Black Mirror episode.
You can go back and recall it.
Yeah, fucking rewind it.
Yeah.
Like the contact lens one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't want to spoil that.
I don't know if I would... Well, if you had a complete, accurate representation of it and would never forget, that would probably change how personalities were.
Completely.
Yeah, and it would.
Hey,
just,
I remember when you fucked me over that one time.
Your whole life would just be one Jon Stewart recall bit, where it's like flip flopping every single way. I guess it would kind of get in the way of growth.
Yeah.
In a sense, because
you'd be stuck in the past.
You couldn't ever let go of that one little bit
and move on.
Yeah, and move on. So that could be different. I guess, though, my point in posing that question, though, is to not try to forget, is that I think that would make living 150 years even like more unbearable. I mean, I know when I worked at the fitness desk over at an old geriatric fitness center that had 80-year-old guys come in, that they were mostly lonely. Yeah. These guys, they would show up and they didn't really, all their friends were dead.
Yeah, so but that's the thing.
But that would change
your friends
lifestyle.
Wouldn't be dead.
Your friends wouldn't be dead. But then at that point, would I keep making new friends?
Ooh.
That's what I'm saying. It's my 80s, or would I keep the same friend group until we're all 150, and then all die together? Like, would we run out of shit to do? Would we just keep playing Halo? Like, you know what I mean?
Dude, I don't know. That's a good question. And like, what about two? So right now we have a whole group of people on this planet that just don't give a fuck about the planet. They're like, whatever. I'm dying. I don't care. I don't care. Fuck it up for my kids. So
how much more would people care and be invested in the future of the overall development of everything, whether it's the environment, the government? How much more invested will we be given that we know we're going to be around?
So you think people would be more altruistic about it?
I think in the long run, just because they would directly be affected by shit going and hitting the fan in 1,000 years, if you're actually going to live 1,000 years, you know. Plus the wisdom that comes from living that long, like if even the dumbest.
No. I've seen 80-year-old guys who are not wise.
No, of course.
I'm telling you that.
No, I'm not. But it's different when your brain is literally getting older and you're getting dumber.
Oh, no. I'm just saying, just because there's a lot of personalities out there that don't look back on their past. They don't care. That's what these old people were. I can
think of one right now. I literally never think about anything.
Everyone at home, pull out your Donald Trump impressions. We
got
them.
Right.
Get them. Everyone's got them in their glove box.
Totally just never think about anything. I just say what's on my mind, and that's just how I do it.
So that's why the wisdom is the search for human truths, in a sense. So if you're not searching for that, you're kind of just living.
Would you have more people searching for it though after reaching a state of boredom?
Would you? I don't know because
Maybe not.
so let's look at it like a historical standpoint then.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, so back before we had a bunch of people living, like a population explosion hit us, we had people that would die mostly in infant stages of their life. They would have 8 kids and 4 of them would die immediately, and then 3 of them would die like in their teens, and then 1 of them would live on until they're older. And I guess until they die of old age. So my point is with this story, this whole thing, if you look back on that and you can see that only like a few people made it through and now we have like a bunch of it, technically the human condition in and of itself hasn't changed. These people are still going through life as we know it now as they did back then.
Yeah.
Did we all get more wise in that
I think
transition?
so, yes. Yeah. If you look at society as a whole, it is, even though there are more idiots.
The growth, the public knowledge pool has gotten a lot bigger.
Yes.
And that you can reference it whenever you need to. But I don't think that's made the species in and of itself more wise.
I'd agree with that sentiment that maybe we're not. Well, I don't know. I think we're still generally a little bit more wise because of the access to the information. But I agree with you that it's not kept up to the pace of the other advances that we've made.
Okay.
So socially, I think you're right.
Because I feel like what's going to happen is that that society technically wouldn't change in a sense. If we were all immortal, there would just be more industries out there, and I think it would be kind of a dick move if you killed yourself. Like that's how it would turn out later. Like if you, okay guys, I'm bored with you all, I'm dying now, and then everyone would show up to your funeral being like, you son of a bitch,
why the hell stayed with us?
You didn't want to go to my great granddaughter's like 20 bat mitzvah, how dare you? Like, you know what I mean,
dude? And that's actually something I was thinking about too, is like, all right, well, would you have kids at 20 if you could be 20 for ever? You know what I mean? Like,
if you never really changed in age.
Yeah, I'd be like, dude, well, let me get 40 years of being fucking like, you know, young and either single or whatever, and like just enjoying being like youthful, even though, you know, you're really 40 or 50 years old or something like that. And then maybe after you have all that wisdom, then you can have the kid, but then you're still youthful to like raise the kid, and I don't know. Yeah. Then eventually they catch up and they start looking like they're your age.
I guess maybe my problem is that is there a limit to human wisdom?
Dude, we don't know because we've never had somebody to live long enough to figure it out.
So that's what I'm saying. I don't know, because I guess though. I mean, how would you? For me, it wouldn't be how long to figure it out. How would you test it? Is my question. How do you test someone's wisdom? You know what I mean?
I don't think it's a testable.
Is it how high of a mountain do you like go off, exile yourself to, and go like sit on top of?
No,
whatever?
I think
a stereotype.
Well, so that would actually be a cool other aspect of it. Let's say if I could live forever, I would actually be willing to put in like 10 years on something that I otherwise maybe wouldn't put the time in, because I'm like, well, I can't use 1/10 of my life on this thing if I'm not that into it. Whereas if I have an unlimited amount of years, like I'd become a pro in like fucking 20 different things.
Okay, so 2 things. So you don't think it would make you more procrastinistic? Like, you know, if everyone was guaranteed a forever life.
No,
you think you would do more?
That would definitely be an element too.
Oh, okay.
I think procrastination would take me longer to still do those things.
Okay.
That being said, though, like let's say I want to.
I think I would have a 0 week policy if I lived forever, like a 0 month policy.
Yeah.
If I lived forever, I'd be like, well, I'll get to it.
Well, and I don't know. I guess for me, I would like to be able to go on a retreat and be able to do like a meditation thing where I literally just spend like a couple months purely just working on the mind and like honing my mind, training it, fucking lucid dreaming, doing all this shit that I'm not going to spend fucking 10 years doing that. But if I had an unlimited amount of time on Earth or, a theoretical unlimited amount of time, assuming no, fatal accidents or something like that, then I would put 10 years into actually meditating and getting like my mind to be like a fucking Buddhist monk.
Okay.
And that would be a cool element that could then influence the other things you like doing.
Part 2 question I want to bring up is that they usually say that somebody gave up the theory that when you live your first year of your life, it was the question as to like, why did the years when you were a kid seem so much longer than what they do now?
The portion of your life.
It's the portion of your life. So when you're a 1-year-old kid, that's your entirety of your life. Every day has been divided up in 365 of them. And so technically, as you look back on your life, you have each year gets infinitesimally smaller.
Yeah.
So if you were to live to infinitum, wouldn't a year feel like a day to you at one point? Like, even though the sun rises and sets in the same 24-hour cycle.
Yeah,
whatever.
I mean, it would go by fast. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, wouldn't you be speeding on close, like, faster and faster till the sun exploded? Or would you be... So, instead of cutting out early, you'd be rocketeering your way to the sudden supernova that'll hit our galaxy.
Basically like a solar sail, where you're just continually increasing speed.
I picture it like
photons.
A railgun. I picture it just
railgun.
Just like with your
maybe
soul.
it would. It
A
would be
railgun
probably
of the
more like
soul,
one.
which is the new album I'm coming out with.
The railgun to the soul.
The railgun to the soul. It's post-prog rock. We have 2 guitars, one of which is missing 2 strings on it, but he's got another finger on it to play it. So
a solid banjo on the side as well.
Solid banjo that we don't actually play entirely right. No one knows how to play it, but we still try it.
Right? It just sounds like
Railgun of the Soul, everybody. We're over at
shit.
we're going to be over at the basement of the House of Blues' basement. The double basement. It doesn't actually exist. It's a supply closet, but it'll still be there.
Hey, man. Supply closets, they can be cozy. But yeah, man, I think in general, I like thinking about shit like that because there's a possibility that we're going to create this technology and we're going to be able to transcend some of our biological limitations, whether it's through augmentation or genetic variation. And I think if we are able to hone those technologies in a way that increases the overall quality of life for everyone, extends the longevity of life for everyone, I think more people would be more mindful of the long-term effects of their decisions because they're no longer on the short-term scale. But I agree with you that procrastination then would also get bigger.
Because my thought is that the investments that you did on that point won't actually change human perspective. The way that you and I are right now perceiving reality in this room will not change if we could live forever. You know what I'm saying? Technically, I don't have as I'm talking, I don't have a complete recollection of what my past is like. And then I don't actually have a good representation of what my future is going to be like, even in the next 2 months. So I can't accurately predict it. At that point, I guess my thing would be is that if you change human perception, I would say that would happen. Because if you were to tell me that I'm living to 150, I don't know what that's going to be until I get to 120. Or if I had a near-death accident at 70 years old. Yeah. Or technically even tomorrow, if I had a near-death incident. Even then, for those moments, you sort of forget them. Granted, I've never been that close to be you're in a coma and you see the light and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Granted, that might change for that.
Have you ever been in a near-death experience?
No. There's a couple of times where it was jutting into traffic and then been oh crap, and then a car being there, but no point where I was ever in a hostile situation such as
it's
that.
terrifying, dude.
Probably, yeah.
It's terrifying.
It's mind altering.
You feel like you can't do anything. You feel completely helpless. In my case, I was in the back seat of a car. I had my seatbelt on, luckily, but we had too many people in the car, so not everyone had a seatbelt, dude. And we were going down this road, and it was a little side road to a friend's neighborhood. And one of our friends was driving, and he was 16, just got a car, driving super reckless, going 90 down this fucking road.
Oh, no.
Yeah, 90. Why are you going 90? I don't know. But he was going 90 down this little road, and it's I think the speed limit was maybe 40. And all of a sudden, he's in the center of the road. Like he's just driving
Oh,
down the
no,
center,
yeah.
and another vehicle starts like turning onto this little side road as
Yeah.
we're starting to approach the main road that it connects to. And we get to the point where he's trying to turn to the right, and his wheels are not moving.
Oh no.
All of a sudden, he's not able to get into the aisle or into the lane that he's supposed to get into. And so this other car's like, "Beep," like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? You're driving straight at us. And then all of a sudden, they swerve off to avoid us. They were able to avoid us. They were driving at a reasonable speed. All of a sudden, after we passed them, and literally we almost head-on collision that car. So they barely swerved out of the way in the last minute. Then all of a sudden, the tires catch. We get past the dirt patch, and it starts spinning. And he's like, oh, shit. So then he spins the other way, overcorrects it, and then we end up 360ing. The tires actually come off the rim of both wheels on one side of the car, and we slide and skid, and the rim hits this pole that we then spin off of and get right to the edge of like a fence. And it's like one of those fences that has like wood planks, like two wood planks horizontally that connect to like I don't know, it's not
Wooden fence
cement.
posts?
No,
Oh.
it's not cement, but it's like some sort of rock type posts
Oh,
that
okay.
connects all the wood in it. It's like they have little divots in the,
Yeah, so it'd be like if it was made of wood, but instead it's cement.
but instead it's cement, and then you connect with the
With
wood.
the wood ones, yeah.
yeah.
I think I've seen
And-
those. It's like park barriers and stuff
Exactly.
like that. Yeah.
And it's like these are like big properties that are around there. I want to say they might even like have horses or something.
That seems like a horse thing, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and it was like insane. And this thing all happened in a flash, but I like remember vividly in that back seat,
Yeah.
just being like, "Fuck, am I gonna just die right now?" Like I didn't know, and time slowed down insanely slow. Like that whole event of like turning and turning, like that felt like it took forever. I was a little traumatized for a while, man. Like I was after that, I was like, man, I'm not gonna drive reckless whatsoever. I'm not gonna let somebody else drive reckless when I'm in the car. I'm gonna say something because I didn't speak up, and I always regretted not speaking up.
Yeah.
Even though I was uncomfortable when he was going that fast. And if anything, that's a lesson. Like definitely speak up, man. If somebody's driving reckless and their life, they're taking your life in their hands, you need to like say something to them or have them pull over or something. But it's traumatic, man. Near-death experiences, it'll definitely put you into perspective. And I was too young to, I think, truly appreciate
So we need to
it.
make a near-death experience industry, basically, in order to give people perspective
I
in
don't
this
know, man.
post-death universe.
No,
that we've made
PTSD. Actually, yeah, the post-death universe, maybe they would need that. That's kind of like
You'd put people through like war situations in order for them to like
appreciate the life they have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it would be weird if that's the situation that would arise from it, but that's why I'm like, it makes me think that to argue CPG Gray on this, that it's like there needs to, like, pain, how they say in Stoicism is more is that pain is natural, that it's a natural reaction that the body makes in order to avoid things. That's why you need to, it's not bad, technically in their sense, it's not bad to feel pain, that you don't need for them, they think of it morally bad. It's not evil for yourself to feel pain for stuff. It's a natural reaction to
It's
things.
information.
It's an informational thing that you need to have. So both feeling pain and feeling happiness are two sides of the same life. And that's why you need to search for fulfillment, or I think it's what they call, I think ataraxia is what the Greek term for happiness, but they search for more of a Greek word that's more closely translated to fulfillment, and that's where you actually find like a true life in. And so I think
Eudaimonia.
yes, actually, that's exactly. I think that was another school of life thing that they were talking about.
They
eudaimonia.
actually taught that in, I had a class at UF in my freshman year. It's like a freshman type course.
Oh, yeah?
And it's called The Good Life. And it's like, what is the good life?
It's
And
just a Bobby Darin playing the whole time.
It was a bullshit ass class, man. But the idea of the class was a good idea.
Remember, they still love you, and in case you wonder why, well, just wake up and kiss to that good life goodbye. No, Bobby Darin.
No, but I will say I like that.
Oh,
That was
thank
dope.
you. I don't normally pull it out. It's usually when I'm alone in my room drawing. And so because I try not to think about how much I suck, so I just keep singing.
Nah, man, you had a solid voice. I was impressed.
Thank you. I think I get it from my mom and my dad in that sense. But yeah, I mean,
neither
it
one of my
only
parents
takes
can sing.
work really to get it done, and I don't do it every day. Damn it.
Yeah, you got to do your vocal practices. Joey does his practices like I would say most days a week.
Yeah, you're supposed to.
Yeah.
That's why
He does it with the keyboard and everything.
I was
like
thinking about talking to Joey. I was
Yeah.
gonna be like, hey Joey, I kind of think of myself as having a cool voice.
Hey, man, come to the studio if I can.
Hey,
We'll record.
Max, can we interest you? Can we interest you like scratching like a drug dealer type of style? Hey, can we interest you some voice lessons? Hey,
Yeah,
you wanna sing into some microphones with us?
Yeah, do you want to, you want to come into our studio here?
I'd scratch my neck more, but I have skin problems. So. And I just clipped my nails, so it's just irritating.
Oh, man.
But to get back to the whole philosophical deep point that we had before we tangentled over to the surface.
Hey, man, that's the nature of a podcast, dude. It's going to go places.
With bits. We just cut our deep voiced topic conversation with bits. So we want bits and pieces. It's like a Ben and Jerry's ice cream over here.
Yeah, little bits and pieces.
Little bits and pieces. Get that texture going.
No, it's good. It's good to lighten some stuff up.
True.
Yeah.
So, pain is natural. Pain is natural. It's one of those things where you can't live a life without it. And so that's why in the CPG Grey one, he's trying to say that you can't, like, it's like, okay, well, why does disease have to have pain? And that's this suffering doesn't have to actually exist. It's only existed because has in the past.
Yeah.
Like, and so that actually has some merit. What if we had some post-pain thoughts on this one?
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have the medication back in the day to have ibuprofen and all the stuff to alleviate regular pains, and we seem to pretty much enjoy that sort of stuff. Granted, though, I guess it leads to like weird amounts of addiction if you think of the opioid crisis.
Yep.
And overprescribing pain.
That's a whole other animal.
But
man.
that's why he was trying to think of, like, if you don't think of it in that sense, why die? Why should we die? We could keep going on and doing stuff.
Yeah.
But then, I don't know. I think a lot of people, when they think of it, they go, they look, like, you could see a lot of people who will die. Granted, let's say everybody who's living right now will die. Like, the post-death reality shows up later than all of us. If we didn't die, or if we did die, who and of ourselves are living to the point like they would do it? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
What's the point of giving somebody a completely infinitesimal life if at no point they will use it? Are we going to assume that at the age of 1,285 that they're going to suddenly go, my God, Crayola! And
I've been sleeping this whole life.
My life finally activated at this point. Like, you know,
Yeah.
it's almost as if the personality in and of itself hasn't developed to make it so that they want to change, like they won't change out of it.
Yeah, we need the pressure of a deadline. I really do think that humans in general kind of need that. Like,
Yeah.
I have to have this done by this time, otherwise I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so that's why I kind of agree where he ends up where it's like everyone will die around 150. It'd be kind of cool if you doubled the lifetime expectancy with it, and then doubled the youth time with it. So there's at one point where you will be like an old person again, where it's like, okay, let your body rest. You can just have your information. Like that part I think is cool, but I think when you think of it as an infinitesimal thing,
I think aging sucks though. So
Oh,
if
yeah,
anything,
no,
I'd rather
definitely.
like you get to stay in your youthful form, and then you can choose. Let's say you're like, all right, I think I want to die in the next 5 years, and I want to plan that out, blah blah blah. And then they do some sort of injections or whatever that basically create a time bomb for you that leads to a painless. You just go to sleep and you just never wake up. You know what I mean? Or honestly, you could just be euthanized. Like you just pick a date, and
I
then
think I feel like it would, like I'm saying, like it would be an industry. Like the funeral industry will then change to being like an event industry, like a planned out event.
like, hey,
You
guys.
go to the Ritz Carlton.
Yep.
You get the casket sitting there already.
Yep.
You get all your buds there. They're all pissed off at the fact of like they had shit to do that they wanted to invite you to, but you're gonna die.
Yep.
And that sort of
just
sense.
choosing to leave.
You're just choosing to leave at this
Son
point.
of a bitch.
So yeah, he's getting to die right now. I guess he's 37. I don't know why. Or he's 15. I don't know why he's picking this. Because he listened to Avril Lavigne and he thought, "Mom and Dad, I'm gonna die." And he has the budget to go to the Ritz in this bit. Okay, never mind. So like at that point, there's like that's how I think it would change to make it more back into deep thought.
Yeah.
Where like, yeah, maybe that kind of bomb stuff that might hit, but I feel like it would just be like, yeah, it would be more event based. It would be like there'd be modern luxury funerals.
Yeah.
And modern luxury, like
It's a going away party.
Chicago style funerals. Yeah, literally a going away party. That's exactly it.
Yep. You just throw a banger, and you're like, all right, by the end of it,
All right, guys,
okay,
I'm out.
Guys, I'm out.
Peace.
You lay in the casket yourself. Somebody comes in, injects it for you. Everybody's around
They just
you.
throw you off. They just throw you off, and you just get ejected out into space or something. That would be dope.
That would be badass.
That would be the railgun to space.
The
which is
railgun to
space. So the next album we're
It'd
coming
be
out
cool, but I'd rather have my energy be redistributed through the earth. Like I'd rather. I don't even want a casket,
with.
dude.
You hippie.
I'd rather.
You hippie.
Well, I'd rather like have my body be decomposed by the organisms.
I want to crash
that
land on
birthed
a
me.
comet.
That would be badass.
That would be badass.
That would be badass.
But alive.
Ooh, that.
And
would
then
be-
die.
Yeah, that would be an awful death.
Yeah, dying alone.
Die in the vacuum.
Dying in the vacuum of space alone, way out there. Yeah, no.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
Yeah, that'd be weird.
All right. Well, I really enjoyed this one, Max. I thought this was a lot of fun. But I think I'm going to end it there.
Hey,
So,
no worries.
Yeah, let's
I'll probably be invited on for later, more
yeah.
deeper philosophical, lateral
definitely.
questions.
Let's do this again, and we'll have people check out your Instagram. Go ahead and plug it real quick. What's your Instagram handle?
I am at Little Bear Big Cereal. If you want to check it out, all spelled correctly, all lowercase, all one word. Yeah. So Little Bear
Awesome.
Big Cereal.
Yeah, check it out, guys. He's got some cool little sketches, and you're going to see his growth every day that he posts, so it's pretty
That's the
awesome.
hope. You just scroll right through it, and you see all of it. You see it from, oh, God, that was so, what's shading on that? And then you go, ooh, that's kind of better shading.
Oh, he's starting to step his game up.
Hey, he understands the shape of a pear.
There you go, guys. All right. Have a good one. See you guys later. Bye.